Hi and welcome to this video. We're asked all the time, what buildings insurance do I need to have as a property investor? In fact, I tell a fib, we're not asked enough because people don't think of it. They go online on moneysupermarket.com or comparethemarket.com, they look for the cheapest quote, they say, well, it's insurance, isn't it? And they click and they take the insurance. But here's what people miss. You see, when you're insuring your property investment, the difficulty is not when it's going well. I've got insurance policy, tick, don't need to worry about it. The difficulty, the challenge is when it goes wrong. So when you actually need to make a claim or you need to rely on that policy to protect you, now it needs to be the right coverage in the right way. And the biggest challenge in the industry is the biggest challenge in the insurance industry from a property investor's point of view is people not understanding this final piece. So let me explain what I'm meaning. The big thing to be aware of is when the property is empty. So if you've got a property that's empty, either when you first bought it, because you bought it, you're doing some refurbishing before the tenant goes in, or when a tenant moves out and before another one moves in. Virtually every policy has different rules and regulations about what you as the policyholder need to do whilst that property is empty. And that's normally kind of embedded in the 50 pages worth of contract that they've got you to sign that you know nothing about. Now, it's when the properties are empty that you normally have the bigger claims. The property burns down because somebody goes in it and sets it on fire. A pipe bursts and water's spilling out for 7 days because no one's been in it to check it, and now the damage is really, really significant, etc., etc. You know, and we've had clients that have had to make big claims from that point of view. And if they'd had the wrong policy, if they'd not followed our advice, they'd have had big, big problems. So what kind of things do insurers insist of? Well, some will ensure that you visit the property once a week while it's empty. Some will insist that whilst you're doing that, you remove any posts so it can't be seen that it's empty. Some will insist that you seal up the letterbox, which is kind of a big sign going, it is empty, but they insist that you do that. Some policies insist that you drain down all the water, so then when you have a flood, you can't claim because you didn't drain down the water as they said. The ones that insist that you visit every week or every 2 weeks insist that that's logged. And you've got evidence of it. You might have to take photos that you were there or stuff like that to evidence it. Because they'll put the duty of proof on you sometimes if you're trying to claim. Okay? So all of these pieces you need to understand. Because if you miss on doing those said visits, draining down that water, some insist that you turn off the electric and gas. How are you meant to do a viewing then is beyond me. But you're meant to turn off the electric, gas and water at the mains. Or have them turned off by the electric, gas and water companies. Some real dodgy policies insist on. So you need to understand this detail. At the Insight Group, we work really, really hard to challenge the insurance providers to make sure it covers everything. Now, it normally means we spend 40 or 50 pounds a year extra on a policy. 40 or 50, let's say it's 50 pounds a year extra. Over 20 years, we've paid an extra £1,000 for that peace of mind that we're definitely covered. Let's say it's over 60 years. We've paid an extra £3,000 to make sure we're definitely covered. In 60 years, you're likely to need to claim on something. And if there's a big claim, you need it to be right. You need it to be right. You know, we've had a client who's had a property burned down, £60,000 worth of damage. They were insured. It was covered because we knew what the checks were within the policy and we were doing the relevant things. See, what we do, and you need to be aware of this if you're managing things yourself, as a letting agency, we know which policies Property Insight put in place for our clients. So therefore, Rental Insight know exactly what level of checks need to be done, in which way, and they have a system and a process to make sure they're done. Now, if you're working with Rental Insight, but you arrange your own insurance, and it isn't the same criteria as our standard criteria, we can't guarantee it's going to get done. We definitely can't guarantee it's going to get done if you haven't had that conversation with us. If your policy then needs us to go once a week instead of once a fortnight, we're going to need to charge you for that extra visit because that's extra time and effort on an empty property that needn't have been there. Suddenly a couple of charges on that and you're wishing you had the more expensive policy and nothing's actually happened. It's just come empty. Okay? If you are not working with Rental Insight, and you're arranging your own insurance, you need to know exactly what the letting agent do, exactly what you're responsible for doing, and you need to make sure that's communicated. Most letting agents have no interest. If that property is empty, the insurance is on your head, it's your job to make sure it's insured properly, and they're not going to pay any interest to that whatsoever unless you ask them to do something for them. And if you ask them to go fortnightly, they're going to charge you. At the Insight Group, we do all that for you. But what we say to you really, really strongly is take the policies we recommend. And I'm telling you, it was hard to get everything in those policies that we wanted. We had to interview, I believe in mastery, I believe in world class, so we had to interview 20 plus brokers, insurance companies, other people like that, and insist on what we wanted. People said that can't be done. There isn't a policy out there like that. No one will provide that. Yes, they will. Here they are. This is what it looks like. This is what's in play. So that's why we strongly recommend our policies. Will you get it cheaper elsewhere? Always. Always. But we're not going to pay through the roof, but we're going to pay for the right cover. There's no point having insurance. I don't like insurance. Overall, the insurance company makes more money than you. But when it's a big potential claim, you need the right insurance to make sure that it pay out without quibble, and you need to make sure their customer service is great. You don't want sleepless nights waiting for 3 weeks to find out if they're going to pay out or not. Not acceptable. Not acceptable if it's a £15,000 flood or a £10,000 flood. You want to know it's done, they're going to pay out, there's no problems here, off we go. And to avoid those sleepless nights, to avoid that worry and to avoid that potential cost, we strongly recommend you take the policies that we've got set up that we know cover things in the right way. Okay? If you want to know more about that, speak to our client services team. They would be delighted to help you to ensure that you're getting insured in the right way. Invest with knowledge, invest with confidence, create financial freedom. I'll speak to you soon. Thank you. Hi guys, it's Aaron here. Did you enjoy this week's video? If so, there are 3 things you can do to continue your property investing journey. The first is you can click here and subscribe to my YouTube channel. I really hope you do, because then each week I can keep sending you great educational videos just like this one, so you can keep developing your property knowledge. Secondly, you can click the link here and get a free copy of my book, The Property Coach, where I teach the 9 steps to really truly successfully building a property portfolio. The third thing you can do is click here and go to my website, www.arancurry.co.uk, and there you can subscribe for free to my newsletter. And what that means is you'll get loads of free educational content in lots of different forms, and also any of our promotions or offers that we run are also there on the website and also in those e-newsletters. Again, helping you move forward with your property investing journey. So if you want to take action, just click any of these 3 boxes or all 3 and move forward to the next level. And in the meantime, invest with knowledge, invest with confidence, create financial freedom. Thank you.